This one tutoring model is quietly replacing the classroom in 2025. And if you're a teacher that's craving more autonomy on the way that you teach, you want more impact, and you want to do so where you get paid what you deserve and have a teaching schedule that you're in control of, this could possibly be for you. Now look, it's not for everybody, but if you are finding yourself as a teacher complaining about the demands, the red tape, all of the expectations that you have to uphold, and you pour your time down the drain and you're not getting paid what you really feel you deserve for being an educator, building our future generations, it could be for you. And I'm not asking you to quit teaching here whatsoever. I'm just showing you that there could possibly be a better way for you to keep teaching on your own terms without having to quit the teaching profession. So let's jump in just a second. I'll break down exactly what this model is, and then you can make a decision if it's for you or not. So let's do it. So look, this online tutoring model can work if you're a teacher who's just getting started, you've got zero experience, or if you've got years of teaching experience. And so many teachers now are quietly using this online tutoring model to replace their teaching salary in a matter of months and make double, triple, even quadruple what they're making as a classroom teacher. So it makes sense, right? If your goal is to increase your teaching income, not have to build a side hustle where you're selling teaching resources or doing private one-on-one tutoring for another company, you can control your own income, your impact, and your teaching schedule by becoming your own boss, by building and scaling your own online tutoring business. But the key is to get the right model. And so many teachers get this wrong because the previous wave of online tutoring was to teach students privately, one-on-one. And that was a great way to supplement your teaching income, and a lot of teachers were using it to do just that. But that wave has gone now. That was years ago. Sadly, so many teachers are still using it. But if you think about it, it's not really very viable. Because if your goal as a teacher is to have more impact because you're passionate about teaching, to increase your teaching income and have a better work-life balance, it doesn't tick any of those boxes. Because if you're teaching in the classroom all day and then you have to teach students privately, one-on-one, perhaps on Zoom, maybe even in person if you're still living in the dinosaur age. But if you're teaching one-on-one on Zoom, just imagine your teaching schedule. You teach in the school, and then realistically, you can probably take students one-on-one from about 4 p.m. onwards, because most of them are in school. So you can teach a student from 4 p.m. till 5 p.m., 6 p.m. till 7 p.m., or 5 till 6, 6 till 7, 7 till 8, and then most students aren't going to be available after that. So what? There's like 4 hours that you can do it in the evening, and that's your evening out the window as well. Okay, and plus, if you do that across the week, you're having to juggle a full-time classroom job and pretty much another glorified joblet you've created. So you end up stuck on the hamster wheel of teach, eat, sleep, repeat, not really making what you deserve and what you're capable of. Okay, and so whilst this tutoring model of teaching students privately one-on-one used to work for teachers just wanted to supplement their income, then nowadays the new wave has arrived, and it's premium group tutoring. And in this video, I'll break down exactly what that is. I'll show you the benefits and why teachers are tapping into this right now. And look, you're not too late. You're just in time for this new wave that teachers have been using for a few years now. And the opportunity is still there because the demand in the online tutoring space is just growing. Between the years of 2024 to 2028, the global tutoring market is expected to grow by $318 billion. That's, triple what it was expected and projected to grow between 2012 to 2018. And, it's growing more than ever because students want to get the edge in their education, right? Parents know that jobs are going to be more competitive than ever down the line because we've got things like AI, all of this tech that's taking control. So there's less need for humans. So if students are coming out of school uneducated, the chances that they're going to be able to build a successful future when they lack the skills, when they lack the education, they lack the grades, is very slim. Okay, so there's never been a better opportunity to make sure that students get educated correctly. And that's why teachers are filling this void by turning to online tutoring. Because if you think about it, every successful person on the planet has mentors, has coaches. Let's take Michael Jordan, for example. Michael Jordan was already at the pinnacle of his basketball career, and he decided to hire help. He hired, for example, Tim Grover to be his personal trainer so that he'd become fitter, quicker, everything so that he could get the edge on his competition. So if he knew that there was a next level and he was already at the pinnacle of his career, doesn't that mean there's a next level for everybody? Absolutely, you included. So the parents know this, and they know how hard it's going to be in the future to get jobs. So they want to set their kids up for success. okay? And so the key then is to switch and use this premium group tutoring model. So I'll break down the benefits right now so you can make a decision if it's for you or if it's not. And then I'll show you what's actually involved in this premium group tutoring model as well. So you can see exactly how to make sure if you do decide to use it, that your students can get life-changing results. Because at the end of the day, when you're building your own online tutoring business, results equals sales. And quite frankly, a lot of teachers get this wrong because they think that they can just rock up on Zoom and teach students in a group online, and that's going to do the job. It's not. Okay, you need to have a few other things alongside of your Zoom classes or wherever you deliver your classes to make sure the students get results and you retain them so that you can create lifelong and lifetime clients. So let's jump in. Let's look at the first benefit behind this premium group tutoring model so you can see if it could potentially improve what you're currently doing as a classroom teacher, and also see why classroom teachers are quietly turning to this model of group tutoring online as well. So the first thing is, of course, your teaching schedule. Now, it's no surprise, right, that teachers don't have a very good work-life balance because they're teaching in a school all day, then there's the planning mark until midnight sometimes, depending on what you teach, of course, and then you're giving the weekends away as well, and all of the other meetings that you have to go to. It's not just the school day, right? It might look like that from the outside for people who've never been a teacher, but if you're in the thick of it, you know that the work-life balance is pretty tough, okay? So when you turn to group tutoring, here's how easy it is to build a schedule that you're in control of so you can teach less but impact more students and earn more. So all you're going to do is on your calendar, you would literally just block out somewhere between 8 to 10 hours per week of teaching. So this could probably be, if we break down a calendar, Monday, perhaps 6 p.m. till 7 p.m., and 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. or 5 till 6, 6 till 7, okay? 2 hours of teaching. You do the same on a Tuesday, 6 till 7, 7 till 8, or 5 to whichever 2 hours you want. So that's 4 hours of teaching. Now on a Wednesday, you block out another 2 hours. There's 6 hours total. Thursday, another 2 hours. And if you wanted to offer another 2 hours, you could either try and do that on a Friday. That sometimes might not be as advisable because a lot of parents, so families, students, maybe they do things on a Friday evening and it might be difficult to fill those time slots up. Okay, but you can decide where you put these hours that you're going to teach. And so if you wanted to do 10, you could do 3 hours on a Wednesday, 3 hours on a Thursday. The rest of the days, Monday, Tuesday, could just be 2 hours, okay? So basically block out 10 hours and you're gonna try and fill these slots with students, okay? Now, if, for example, you were to teach students one-on-one, that would be 10 additional hours of tutoring, right, per week, okay? Now, that would just be a side hustle, like a part-time job, because what are you gonna be able to charge per hour? And so the reason why that model is wrong is because there's always going to be a limit, right, on what you can charge. Sure, you might charge $25 or £25, or $50 or £50, or even 100, or maybe even 200. But let's say you charged $50, £50, probably an average rate for online tutoring. Okay, now if you did 10 hours a week of teaching, that's 10 different students, all paying $50 an hour, and therefore you're gonna bring in an extra 500, okay? Across a month, let's say there's 4 weeks in a month, give or take, so that's about $2,000 extra. Now that might sound good to some people, but what you're forgetting is it's not predictable, because this model means that the parent or the customer and the client, they are in control. Because if they can't make it one particular week, they're going to call you up or send you a message, send you an email, and they're going to tell you, hey, we're not around next week, so we'll need to reschedule. Okay, so you don't have any predictability. Okay, plus, you know, that you're completely capped because you can't really take on any more. You could, but you're going to burn out. You're not going to have a life. Zero fun, right? And then if you teach groups, for example, and what you can do now with each of those 10 slots, let's say that you teach reading to elementary kids, okay, or primary school age students. So I could probably put together in the beginning 5 students in a group. Okay, so if I was to teach 5 students per group and they all had 1 hour session a week, then what I would do is, if I filled all of those 10 teaching slots, I've now got the capacity to impact 50 students across the week in my own business. Okay, so I can become more of a mentor to them, right? Because I've got more time, I've got more energy. And the key thing here is, obviously I'm going to be teaching less, but when you hear how you can price this and the income that's available, it would make complete sense for most people to just transition to this and then grow it and scale it, because it's really just about more at that particular point in time once you've filled these initial slots. So let's say now you charge the students, okay, per a set block of perhaps 12 weeks. And the reason why you would do this, it gives you predictability. Okay, so if you think about an extracurricular activity provider in a school, what do? They don't charge by the lesson, right? So I send my daughter to a basketball club at her school, and the basketball club send out the letters or the invites via email or whatever to the parents at the end of the term and say, hey, next term or next semester's fees are XYZ. There's 12 weeks and this is the cost. And they charge up front. And so the reason why they do that is because they then know what numbers they've got attending the classes, so they can plan how many coaches they perhaps need to send to the sessions. It also creates predictability inside of the business, and they've got more committed people, so they don't just have people turning up when they feel like it. It also avoids things like cancellation fees, because if I was just paying per lesson for my daughter to attend this club, then some weeks when we haven't been there, or if she's been ill or something's happened and we needed to, do something different as a family, I would just say, oh, she can't attend this week. But the fact that we've paid up front, I'm not in a position to say that, right? Because I've made a commitment. So this is why this model is way more predictable when it comes to what you're actually continuing to bring in and get more committed students. Guys, quick interrupt. I hope you're enjoying the video, but I wanted to make sure you picked up your copy of Teaching on Your Own Terms. It's my best-selling book, and it shares with you the exact 5 steps that I've used with over 2,000 teachers at this point, helping them build their dream online teaching businesses. It went to bestseller in 7 categories. It's been featured by NASDAQ in Times Square, New York City. And I know you're going to love it. Inside of the book, you're going to learn things like how to position yourself as the go-to tutor in the marketplace, and the offer that you can create to get your ideal students reaching out, and how to communicate that. I'll share with you what I've seen as the best advertising strategies to get in front of new students and parents who want what you've got, how to sell your services, and everything you actually need to include in an online group tutoring business to make sure your students crush it and get great results. There's some free gifts and bonuses in there. I think in the first couple of pages, there's a link. You can go and grab some free gifts on me, but I know you're going to love it. Teaching on Your Own Terms. I'll leave a link down below in the comments, and go and pick up your copy today. So if we think about the income side of things, then if you're charging anywhere, and a great start point, by the way, would probably be if you're just getting started, you've really got 0 experience teaching online, and this would be your first set of groups, you might start anywhere from like £500 or $500 per student for a 12-week block. They get 1 lesson a week. And so if you're then able to break that down, if you wanted to add it up, that would factor into per lesson is about $41.66. So let's call it $40 or £40. Now, if you filled that 1-hour group of 5 students, and it worked out that each of those students was each on average paying $41.66, so about $40 for that class. You got 5 students in the class, well, you just made $200 per class, right? And you've impacted 5 students in the same amount of time that other teachers could be impacting 1 student, all right? Plus, you're gonna be able to have way more income, right, than if you were filling those 10 slots with one-on-one clients. Because if you're doing 10 of those slots and all of the classes are full, and they all averaged $200 or £200 per class, if they're all full of 5 students, you've made that $2,000, right? 200 times 10. You've made that $2,000 in the space of a week, as opposed to an entire month that a one-on-one tutor would be making, right? And plus, that then equals $8,000 with just 10 hours of teaching, compared to the average teaching salary in the US is about $5,000 to $6,000, right? In the UK, it's even less. And so the income doesn't even add up. It's way more efficient, way more effective to do this. But what I've just shared with you is you at minimum, right? From here, you're going to be able to grow by increasing your rate, by increasing the group size, which just depends on a few nuances, like what age students you're teaching, what subject you're offering. And so you'll find a limit of how many students that you can have in a group, of course, before results potentially start to deteriorate. And once you find that limit, you'll be able to create a cutoff of what you feel capable to deliver amazing and outstanding results to your students, okay? So let's say that you were able to double your group size, and instead of teaching just 5 students in a group, you could teach 10. Well, if you were charging, and we already worked out that it averaged $200 per class, well, now you've just suddenly doubled it to $400 in a single hour of teaching. And if you did 2 of those a day, that's $800 or £800 with a full class of 10 students in just 2 hours of teaching. Okay, times that across the entire week. If you did 10 of that, what's that? $4,000. Times across the month, 16 grand. And so, like I said, it's really just about more. But you don't have to increase the group size. You could simply just increase your rate. And you would be able to do that the longer and longer you go on, because the more experience you get, the better results you get for your students, you're of course going to be able to increase your rate because you build more confidence, you build more trust, you have case studies, testimonials to show, and people pay for results, right? If you were choosing between two chiropractors to help you solve back pain that you potentially might have, and you had chiropractor A over here, chiropractor B, but they both said that it would give you a treatment plan and you liked it, but you saw that chiropractor B had a lot of case studies, a lot of glowing reviews, testimonials, and he was more money, okay? He was charging a higher fee than chiropractor A, who had 0 case studies or just not as many. You would have more confidence in chiropractor B. So you would be happy to pay the difference. And it's the same in everything, okay? So that way you can increase your rate as well. And then from there, you've got a other couple of options. You could give away more teaching hours if you want to. Probably not advisable because you won't have the ability then to take on new students by speaking to new students, taking new enrollment calls, working on the business, not in it, creating better resources for your students that you've got, marketing material, everything like that. And that's why we find 10 hours is kind of the sweet spot when you're running a group-based model. Okay, so the key then at that point is to hire other teachers, just like any other normal successful business would do. They would expand by hiring employees, and you can do the same as well. All right, so now you just hire more teachers, and then you could hire 2 teachers. So there's 3 of you and 2 others. You triple your business. And it's that simple. This is what we've seen teachers do here at the Teacher Project. Some of our clients have been able to go from teacher salary to bringing in 6 figures in cash in literally a matter of months. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that's completely possible for you because it takes hard work. It takes skill. You've got to have great sales skills. You've got to get your students great results. And I, of course, don't know you, but I'm sharing with you how this model can work because teachers are using it consistently time and time again to do this. And this is exactly what they're doing. All right. So if the model is there, then what actually is a premium group tutoring program? Because if you can see the model and how this can work, then you can't just go and set up some Zoom lessons, like I said, and expect the students to come flocking and running and you get them amazing results and they keep working with you. Because the key to keep building this and compound, just like interest in a bank, when you invest your money, you know, even in the stock market, the interest compounds, right? And your returns compound because you keep the money there. The moment you take the money out, the interest, the compounding, it stops, right? So the only way that you can keep your business growing is to keep the students. And so what allows you to charge a higher rate for group tutoring, higher than most teachers are charging for one-on-one, is the way that you package this offer so that the parents and students you're selling to don't just think that they're paying for what happens in the lesson. Because the moment that happens, they will work out exactly like what I said. When you expand your rate to perhaps 1,000, okay, per 12-week cycle, 12-week block or term or semester, and then they break that down of what it costs per lesson, they see it's $80 or £80 if there's only one lesson a week, they're going to be thinking, is it really worth that? Or can I find another teacher to teach my child that's just 50 and they get one-on-one? All right. So the key behind that is, of course, when you charge by the block, there's kind of less focus on it just being pay per lesson because it's an entire result. It's a commitment, right? But the key is to make sure you package your offer as a premium service. And so what's important is what goes on away from the lessons. Okay, so some of the things that we've seen really work for the teachers that we've served and that we help and we coach on this is to, 1, provide some form of catch-up class, okay, or homework club or book club. And this is just another way to get in front of the students where you can leverage your time. So for example, I taught this to one of the clients that we were working with. This client eventually became my daughter's reading tutor, okay? And then in their program, what they've done is they had the lesson that happens in the week, but then they had a book club as well, where they invited all of the students who attended all of their lessons to this one book club. And it was just a fun session that kept the students engaged. It gave them the opportunity to practice. And it also created this community feel, this winning environment that was just an additional value add that didn't really cost the teacher a lot of time, just that extra 1 hour per week. And so there's a few ways that you can use this. If you're teaching older students, you might have it as a homework club or a revision club or a Q&A session, or simply just an office hours when you're there available, or you could eventually have teaching assistants and other teachers that do this hour for you. And so the students can just come in and they can ask you questions, okay? Or if it's younger students, you would make it have a theme, like my daughter's tutor did. They just had a book club and they read stories and they practiced and they just had like a fun interactive Q&A session, not an actual focused learning lesson. And so this helps the students get better results. Another way you can use it as well as you start to run group programs is a catch-up class. So if you can see students struggling in the groups, to make sure they don't get left behind, you can strategically invite a select amount of students to this catch-up class. It's just at a set time each week to make sure that you keep them improving. Let's say don't get left behind, they're continuing to move forwards, and the parents are going to really appreciate that. And that in itself is super, super valuable. So that's one thing that you can add into your group tutoring programs to make it a no-brainer on what it is you charge. The second thing is a self-paced study curriculum, or a learning portal or student hub, somewhere where you can store just, in the beginning, it might just be the replays from the live lessons. And this is where it helps the offer that you present to parents and students in the beginning when they sign up. Hey, if you miss a lesson, we actually record it and it goes into the portal so you can catch up anytime you want. Remember, in a school, students don't get to rewatch the lesson that they've been in. And so this is really powerful, because if there was some great insights and you want to refer your students back to them, then they can catch up in this study portal. You could even use it as a study portal for the parents to help their kids so they can see what's going on, okay? And so you can simply put the recordings in there, or you can create some simple topics, something to accompany what you're teaching in the lessons, so that you can send students to this to revise or just close their knowledge gaps where you feel that they need support and help, that you can build quizzes or assessments into this course as well. So it kind of runs parallel with what you're teaching in the live lessons, okay? And so you don't have to build this by any means when you first get started, but what would be great is over time, you slowly start to build some sort of learning platform. And a lot of teachers get this wrong because they think they need to have something like this in the beginning. You honestly don't. If you think about a housing developer, they don't go and build the house and sell it, right? They sell the houses first, the vision of what the house is going to look like. Then they get to work and build once they know there's demand. So this is something you would slowly build alongside your teaching once you've actually got students. In the beginning, the most important part is to get students. And I'll tell you more about that in a bit on how I can help you start enrolling students for your group tutoring programs if you're starting to see the potential in this model. Now, alongside of that, you might have some sort of parent community group that you could create. It could be on WhatsApp. There's apps like Class Dojo or Telegram or Facebook groups. And so this allows you to have a streamlined way of communicating, making announcements if there's any updates to your lessons. And you can also nurture and internally market to your clients. Because just because they're a client, you've got a student or the parents in there, you need to market to them so that they continue to show up and do the work and see what you've got as valuable. So you can become this leader where you can educate the parents, share tips, do student shout outs, student of the week or success student of the month or whatever. And you can create all sorts of prizes, competitions, fun giveaways in there. And a lot of people, they'll love this environment so much that will be one of the reasons why they stay. So if you think about online, you're not physically there. So you have to have something outside of the lessons that allows you to create this winning environment, and having some sort of communication group is one way that you can absolutely do it. The other thing that you can do is, if you think about inside of a school, they have things like parents' evening, right? Sometimes it's once a semester or it's 2 times a semester, depending on the school. And so what you can do is you can create strategically placed one-on-ones throughout your student's journey to either do reviews, assessments, or simply just feedback sessions to work with the student on a more intimate level. And so you're creating sort of a hybrid model of group tutoring. Now, in the beginning, it really depends on how much time that you've got. But as your student numbers start to grow, this would be one of the elements that you definitely want to add in to boost and increase retention, okay, with your students. It doesn't have to be you doing it long term, but eventually you could have some teachers who do these one-on-one check-ins for you and your business. All right, so this is the group tutoring model, a premium group tutoring model that's quietly overtaking the classroom. So many teachers can see now the benefits behind it. This new wave of tutoring, teaching in groups online, it's so much more flexible. It allows you to provide, quite frankly, a better service to your students. And so a lot of teachers get caught up with actually having to charge for teaching. But think about it this way, the more you charge, the better service that you can provide to your students, better resources. You can hire other teachers to help you deliver this so your students can continue to get better results. And plus, if you've got something that's good, if you believe you're a good teacher, you've got a moral obligation to get those skills, get your expertise into the hands of students who need your help. So the next question is, how do you get the students, right? Well, if you haven't picked up a copy yet, I've got my best-selling book, Teaching on Your Own Terms, went to bestseller in 7 categories. You can go and grab a copy from teachonyourownterms.com, and it breaks down everything that you need to know into 5 simple steps when it comes to running a thriving online tutoring business, all the way from how you position yourself as an online tutor to attract your ideal students and stand out, what type of advertising you could potentially be doing to get in front of students who need your help, how you convert students into paid clients, and then how you deliver that amazing service. And I break that down in more detail inside of the book. So if you want to get started with that, that would be a great way to get going on this. And so you can shift to this premium group tutoring model and stay ahead of the curve in 2025 to take your teaching career to the next level. Hope you enjoyed that. If you're watching this on one of my channels, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.